one is dreadful. An Ohio woman facing murder charges after police say that she fatally stabbed a 3-year-old boy outside of a local grocery store. On Monday, 32-year-old Bionca Ellis, look at this, she was seen smirking at the cameras at her arraignment. Her bail was set at $5 million. And according to police, she not only stabbed the child, but also stabbed the child's mother as they were leaving the grocery store. The victim, 3-year-old Julian Wood, this is this precious little angel who died in what authorities are saying was a random attack, totally random, outside of the Giant Eagle grocery store on June 3rd near Cleveland, Ohio. Mom is still recovering from her injuries, and before Ellis's bail was set, little Julian's dad gave this very emotional statement in court.
That day, 1 week ago, she took everything from us. There's nothing that could ever replace my son or anything that my wife and I, even our other kids, are going through. It's horrendous.
Fair question this morning. What's the most shocking part about this? The horrific allegations that this woman stabbed a 3-year-old and his mother who was trying to save him? Or that she thought it was funny when she was arraigned and she was laughing in the courtroom. Let's bring back in our power panel. Detective Alcazar, you've seen some horrific stuff throughout your career. Would you start off this conversation, please?
Yeah, anytime you're dealing with a child homicide, it's probably the worst case you could respond to. I've dealt with several, and I hated it. I hated the perpetrator. You get very emotional. You try to be professional, but when I see this woman's face, oh my God, she's just a monster. And it's hard to keep my composure just looking at her now. So I don't envy the task of prosecuting her. I'm sure they will, but just a lot of emotions when I heard about this case.
Oh, certainly, Detective. I mean, this has just rocked Cleveland, Ohio, and people all around the country and the world who saw this story. I mean, who hurts a 3-year-old? And there was no reason for it. They're pushing the mom was pushing the shopping cart to the car. They're in the parking lot. The baby's in the top part of the buggy, like they typically are, and then this is what police say happened for no good reason. Franz, to you next, please. Thoughts on what stuns you the most?
So this is all about context. They tried to arraign her 3 different times, twice on video camera and once in active court, which is where we see her smiling. The indigent defender says to the judge, look, we've previously represented her in another matter. We think she has a mental health issue. We think, and this is important, we think she hasn't received her medication. The judge continues to push. The calamity of errors here is they should have reassigned this arraignment and not done it here. And now what we're left with, if I'm defending her, what I'm left with is the optics of her smiling at the camera in active court, looking like she's a monster, where in truth, she might have a legitimate mental health issue. Not saying that excuses the behavior, not saying that makes her not culpable for the murder. I'm saying it's all about context, and moving forward in the arraignment in this manner absolutely hurt her, absolutely shouldn't have happened. Now, look, Julie, it's possible she's faking. It's absolutely possible she's faking and doesn't have a mental health issue. But if I'm a defense attorney, that's how I have to spin it is this woman has a clear mental health issue. We have a history with her. We know she has a mental health issue, and her behavior in court shouldn't be admissible in a court of law at trial. And it also should be a factor in determining whether or not to seek the death penalty.
Such great points from you, Franz. Such excellent points you just made. Thank you for all of that. Kinsey Schofield, will you take us home, please? Your thoughts on the case, what stuns you the most? And what you're looking for going forward?
I think what stuns me the most is how amazing the community has been around this family, rallying around this family. They recently had a car show to raise money for the family at a local bar. 20% of the proceeds at the bar also went to the family. Over $261,000 has been raised of just a $10,000 goal for the family on GoFundMe. His favorite things were the color green and dinosaurs. And if you look at video throughout the community, family. It's littered in green and dinosaurs because people want to remember this baby. They were immensely affected by this child's death. And I think he's going to be remembered for a very long time. And I think that that's something important to think about throughout this process.
Oh, you're right. Kinsey, that was beautiful. Thank you for all of that. We've got to say goodbye, and a big thank you to you and to Franz for all of your time and expertise this morning. We'll see you back here soon.
June 10th, 2025, Cleveland, Ohio. The courtroom air is stagnant, heavy with the collective breath of a grieving family and a shocked public. Bionca Ellis sits at the defense table. She is no longer smirking. She is no longer rocking back and forth with that chilling, detached amusement that horrified the world during her initial hearings. Today, the weight of the law finally descends. Judge John Russo's gavel strikes the wood with a sound like a closing tomb. The sentence, life without the possibility of parole. No hope, no second chances, just concrete. Most people watching believe that the death penalty is the ultimate punishment, but for Bionca Ellis, death would have been easier. A quick exit is a mercy she will never know. Her reality is more brutal than people realize. She has been handed a living death, a slow, decades-long erasure where her name is replaced by a number and her future is compressed into a 6x9 cell. She isn't just going to prison, she is being buried, alive in the state of Ohio.
Hello, Ms. Ellis. Do you have an attorney? You do? Do you have the money or means to hire an attorney? Have you received your indictment? Okay. Have you read it? You have not read it. Okay.
To you back there, right?
We have a copy here. You can read it. You don't want to read it. Are you willing to accept that the public defender has read it to you? I'm sorry. You asked her not to. Well, but she did read it to you, correct? She didn't read it to you. Okay, well, we can read it in open court. Okay. It's a 10-count indictment. Count 1 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did purposely and with prior calculation and design cause the death of J.W. 10/29/2020. The state of Ohio reserves the right to seek a superseding indictment containing the appropriate 2929.04a aggravating circumstances specifications. And so you understand that means the state is reserving its right to add a death penalty specification. Count 2 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, that the defendant did purposely cause the death of J.W. 10/29/2020. Count 3 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did cause the death of J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020, as a proximate result of the offender committing or attempting to commit an offense of violence that is a felony of the first or second degree, to wit, felonious assault, Ohio Revised Code section 2903.11A1, and or endangering children in violation of Ohio Revised Code section 2919.22B2. Count 4 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did knowingly cause serious physical harm to J.W. on date of birth 10/29/2020. Count 5 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did torture or cruelly abuse J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020, a child under 18 years of age, and furthermore, the violation resulted in serious physical harm to J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020. Count 6 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did attempt to purposely cause the death of Margot Wood. Count 7 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did attempt to cause the death of Margot Wood as a proximate result of the offender committing or attempting to commit an offense of violence. It is a felony of the first or second degree, to wit, felonious assault, Ohio Revised Code Section 2901.11A1. Count 8 alleges that on or about June 3, 2024, the defendant did knowingly cause serious physical harm to Margot Wood. Count 9 alleges that on or about June 3, 2024, the defendant did, knowing that an official proceeding or investigation was in progress or was about to be or likely to be instituted, alter, destroy, conceal, or remove any record, document, or thing with the purpose to impair its value or availability as evidence in such proceeding or investigation. Count 10 alleges that on or about June 3, 2024, the defendant did with purpose to deprive the owner, Volunteers of America store, of property or services, to wit, knives, knowingly obtain or exert control over either the property or services without the consent of the owner or the person authorized to give consent. I have now read the indictment to you. Do you wish to enter a plea of not guilty?
C.
Pardon me?
C.
What's same mean? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I understand the victims are represented and they want to make a comment before I set bond. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I want to welcome you back to the channel. We investigate the cases the world tried to forget, looking for the truth in the spaces between the headlines. If you find value in these deep dives, please subscribe and join our community of investigators. And as we begin, tell us where you are watching from today, whether it's the United States, Canada, Australia, or beyond. Leave a comment below. We read every single one. The timeline of the crime is a high-intensity descent into pure chaos. June 3, 2024, North Olmsted. A sunny afternoon at a Giant Eagle grocery store. Bionca Ellis walks in, carrying steel. She doesn't know Margot Wood. She has never met 3-year-old Julian Wood. But she follows them. Clinical. Methodical. She trails them through the aisles, past the checkout, and into the parking lot. Chills run down the spines of those who have seen the surveillance footage. Ellis runs toward them. The sensory details are haunting. The flash of the blade, the metallic scent of blood in the summer heat, and the shattering screams of a mother watching her world fall apart. Julian was stabbed twice. Once in the face, once in the back. He never had a chance. Margot was stabbed in the shoulder, a physical wound that pales in comparison to the soul-shattering loss she endured in that asphalt lot. But what were the missed red flags? This is the part most people don't understand. Ellis was a ticking time bomb the system refused to defuse. Just days before the murder, she was in court for a probation violation. She had been diagnosed with severe mental health issues for over a decade. She had been hospitalized. She had been arrested for shoplifting. The red flags weren't just waving, they were screaming. Yet, she was allowed to walk into that store. She was allowed to buy those knives. Analyze her psychology, and you find a void. Is she fundamentally incapable of change, or a victim of a mental health infrastructure that failed to contain a known threat? In her own words during the trial, she spoke of NASA and espionage, a fractured mind that translated its internal chaos into external carnage. If you've stayed with me this far, you aren't just a casual viewer. You're an investigator. We are building a community of people who refuse to let these stories fade into the concrete. Hit that subscribe button and join our ranks. Help us grow this circle of voices so we can bring more light to these forgotten halls. Now, let's look at the evidence they didn't want you to see. Think about the milestone erasure.
I'm at North Olmsted, Ohio, Giant Eagle. Someone just stabbed a kid and a lady in the parking lot.
Screams in the parking lot as we were parking or walking to our car, and we saw the kid.
Court TV obtained new video from the moments before what police believe was an Ohio woman fatally stabbing a 3-year-old boy outside of a local grocery store. Here's the surveillance video. 32-year-old Bionca Ellis enters the store with a knife in hand before she walks out of frame. It's moments later that she re-enters the frame and then follows the 2 victims out into the parking lot.
She was then arrested and taken into custody, but after the victim, 3-year-old Julian Wood, was stabbed multiple times in what authorities are calling a random attack. The child later died due to his injuries, and Ellis was arrested. Her bail was set at $5 million for stabbing the child and wounding his mother. She'll be back in court for a hearing on Monday. Now, what do we make of this case? Let's talk about it with criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Joe Tamburino.
For Julian Wood, the list of lost experiences is infinite. He will never have a first day of kindergarten. He will never learn to ride a bike without training wheels. He will never know the pride of a graduation or the warmth of a first love. Bionca Ellis erased those milestones with a knife, and now the law erases hers with a cell key. She is currently 34 years old. Let that sink in. In 20 years, she will be 54. Her physical decay will happen in the sterile gray light of the Ohio Reformatory for Women in Marysville. While Julian's family marks his missing birthdays with flowers at a grave, Bionca will mark her years by the chipping paint on a concrete wall. She will never again choose her own clothes. She will never again walk through a grocery store without the heavy bite of shackles at her wrists and ankles. Her legacy is not the espionage she hallucinated. It is the silence of a life that has been permanently stopped. The inside-the-walls reality for Bionca Ellis is a dehumanizing routine that begins before the sun rises. Marysville is notorious, a place where the state holds its most violent female offenders. The lights slam on at 5 a.m. There is no choice, no autonomy. Her universe has shrunk to a concrete box. The food is lukewarm sustenance, pushed through a metal slot in a heavy door. The smells of floor wax and industrial disinfectant become the only atmosphere she knows. But here is the part most people don't understand: the prison hierarchy. In the yard, there is a code. Even in a women's facility, those who hurt children are viewed as the lowest form of life. Bionca Ellis isn't a political prisoner or a victim of NASA inside those walls. She is a child killer. She is a target. She will live every second of her living death in a state of hypervigilance, a mirror of the terror she inflicted on a toddler in a shopping cart. As of January 2026, her appeals have been quiet. The legal system has moved on, leaving her to the silence of her sentence. The smirk she once wore is now a memory, replaced by the grim reality of a life where the only thing she has to look forward to is the next meal pushed through the slot. Stay with me, because this isn't just about a crime. It's about the clinical anatomy of a life being stripped away day by day. Every time the heavy steel door racks shut, a piece of Bionca Ellis is erased. It is a slow-motion execution that lasts for 50 years. But here is the part most people don't understand. The living death of Bionca Ellis is not just a geographical confinement. It is a total psychological dismantling. Inside the Ohio Reformatory for Women, the prestige of being a headline disappears. The media trucks leave. The internet stops talking. The cameras are replaced by the unblinking eye of a CCTV lens that records her every movement, her every meal, her every breakdown. In the medical wing, her diagnosis of schizophrenia remains, but in the general population, that diagnosis is no excuse. Stay with me, because the inside-the-walls reality is far more clinical than the news reports suggest. In Marysville, the air is thick with the scent of industrial bleach and desperation. Her concrete box is a sensory vacuum. The walls are close enough to touch without fully extending her arms. There is a metal bunk, a thin mattress, and a stainless steel toilet that offers no privacy. This is where her espionage delusions meet the cold, hard reality of the state's ultimate control. The dehumanizing routine is a clock that never stops. Every morning at 5 a.m., the racking of the cell blocks sounds like a synchronized thunder. It is a reminder that she no longer owns her time. She is told when to eat, when to bathe, and when to stand for count. In the medical world, a woman with her history would be treated. In the penal world, she is managed. The food is a plastic tray of standardized calories, often lukewarm, pushed through a metal slot. Let that sink in. A woman who once walked freely through the aisles of a giant eagle, choosing whatever she desired, now has her entire survival dictated by a slot in a door. The physical decay of a life without sunlight, without fresh air, and without genuine human connection begins to take hold. By the time 2030 rolls around, the vibrant, defiant woman who smirked at a judge will be a hollowed-out version of herself, a ghost wandering the tiers of a maximum security fortress. But let's talk about the prison hierarchy. This is the part that keeps prisoners like Ellis awake at night. In the yard, there is an unwritten law that is far more brutal than any judge's sentence. Crimes against children are the ultimate taboo. In a women's prison, where many inmates are mothers themselves, the rage toward a child killer is visceral. Bionca Ellis is not a peer. She is a pariah. She is a target for the righteous anger of women who have lost their own children to the system. She must walk the halls with her head down, knowing that at any moment, the living death could become a violent reality. She is forced into a state of hypervigilance that mirrors the very terror she inflicted on little Julian Wood. It is a psychological feedback loop, a haunting where she is both the ghost and the haunted. As of January 2026, the legal updates are stagnant. There are no groundbreaking appeals on the horizon. The insanity defense was tested and rejected by the reality of her actions. The court recognized that while her mind was fractured, her intent was clear. She stole the knives. She followed the victims. She struck with precision. The missed red flags are now a case study for law enforcement and mental health professionals across Ohio. But for Bionca, they are just the echoes of a life that could have been different. She sits in her cell, perhaps still talking to the voices of NASA or espionage, but the only ones listening are the stone walls of Marysville. Now, we must address the no sympathy disclaimer. To look at the living death of an offender is not to offer them a platform for pity. We must state clearly, the victim's pain is the priority. The focus of this channel and this investigation is the hole left in the world by the absence of Julian Wood. We are not defending Bionca Ellis. We are analyzing the weight of the justice system as it grinds her identity into dust. We prioritize the screams of Margot Wood over the silence of Bionca's cell. We prioritize the lost life of a 3-year-old boy over the dehumanizing routine of his killer. The criminal is not the protagonist of this story. The consequences are. Which leads us to the final philosophical dilemma. This is the question that defines our justice system in 2026. Justice versus revenge. Is life without parole a more civilized punishment because it avoids the finality of the needle? Or is it actually a living death that is more cruel than execution? Is it more humane to keep someone like Bionca Ellis alive for 50 years in a concrete box? Or is that a form of slow-motion psychological torture that we use to satisfy our need for vengeance? Some argue that the death penalty is an easy way out, a quick sleep. They argue that true justice is the 18,000 days of staring at a wall, the 54,000 lukewarm meals through a slot, and the endless realization that you will never again touch the world outside. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, let's have a debate that honors the gravity of this case. Is life without parole enough? Or does the living death of Bionca Ellis fail to balance the scales for the life of Julian Wood? Tell us where you stand on the line between justice and revenge. We read every single comment, and your voice helps us bring light to these forgotten halls. The case of Bionca Ellis is just one file in a very dark cabinet. In our next video, I'm opening the vault on a story even more chilling than this one, a 2026 update on a medical professional who used their knowledge to commit the unthinkable, leaving a trail of digital shadows that took a decade to decode. If you aren't subscribed, you're going to miss the update that changes the way you look at the justice system forever. Don't get left outside the walls. Join us, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.